I'm Dr. Mark Hatala, and I want to welcome you to our discussion today on finding appropriate research for your paper. So using Wikipedia, psychology databases, Google Scholar, and everything else to make your life easier. But let's get started with the plea to please buy my books. So I have several books on APA style, which will make you a better writer and answer your questions on APA style. What about Wikipedia as a source? Well, when you're trying to find your topic, most research begins on the web and ends at Wikipedia. Wikipedia as a source, what that tells your professor is, I didn't try and I don't care. But Wikipedia can be good for helping to decide what topic you want to do. Plus, it has references at the bottom of the page on whatever topic it is that you're interested in. And so you can look those up. And so Wikipedia is a gateway to appropriate research. The problems with it are that the main problem is that it's written by volunteer contributors. And so they're not necessarily experts in the field. The research they cite may be obscure or controversial, and you wouldn't know. And finally, there's no way of knowing which research is important and which is not. It could be that the person who's the contributor thinks something is important, but everybody else in the field doesn't. So to reiterate, Wikipedia can play a role in helping you choose a topic, and it can help you find articles, but you shouldn't rely on it in any way. The psychology databases are things like PsycARTICLES and PsycINFO, and they're both published by the APA, or American Psychological Association. So how are they different? Well, PsycINFO searches much more broadly, so articles, dissertations, theses, papers, etc., whereas PsycARTICLES provides full text of articles published in any of the 90 journals that are part of the essentially published by the American Psychological Association. Now, PsycINFO also has those articles, but it's broader. So the differences aren't very large because they're both published by the APA. So all of the information in PsycARTICLES is redundant with what you would find in PsycINFO, including the full text component, so you can get the full article. So why should you use PsycARTICLES at all? Personally, I like to know what I'm going to be able to find, when I'm going to be able to find a full text version of an article. And so I usually start my search with PsycARTICLES and then move on to other things from there. But your mileage may vary. You can choose to do how you like. The Psychology Collection is owned by the educational publishing company Gale, which is owned by Cengage, which is undoubtedly owned by some even larger publishing company. It's like the other databases, but it also includes articles published in magazines, newspapers, and books. Is it therefore more inclusive? Surprisingly, no. And I'll give you an example in a second. I want to say one last thing about this, though, too. One of the issues with PsycINFO, PsycARTICLES, and Psychology Collection is you're going to need access to an academic library in order to use them. And so bearing that in mind, let's do the test case of chewing gum. For whatever reason, this was a hot topic between 2004 and 2013. And what it's really looking at is the context-dependent memory of chewing gum. So learning material when you're chewing gum and then trying to recall it either when you're chewing gum or not. So in PsycINFO, I found 6 articles, 2 which were full text. In Psych Collection by Gale, I found 2 articles, one which was redundant with PsycINFO. And PsycARTICLES found 0 articles because none had appeared in APA journals. So as I said earlier, PsycINFO is more exhaustive than PsycARTICLES. So in this obscure case, PsycINFO was the most inclusive database. What about Google Scholar? You know that it's better than just Googling your topic because it's got the word scholar in it. And scholar is someone who is educated and knows things. And I know that because I Googled scholar. It's an even broader database, and it includes cross-disciplinary work, websites, court cases, and a lot of other stuff too. But what about our example of context-dependent memory and gum chewing? Well, it found some of the same articles as PsycINFO and one unpublished paper, but it might be unpublished for a good reason. Now, I think that Google Scholar is helpful because it doesn't require an academic library in order to access it. So anybody can access it from anywhere in the world. So you might say, I'm just going to Google my topic. Using Google to research your topic shows that you weren't even motivated enough to use Wikipedia. Now, some websites can be very good, so like the Mayo Clinic or the CDC, and they should be used to guide you to primary sources. So in the chewing gum example, I got on Google, I got the same results as I got on Google Scholar. They look slightly different because they look like they're Google results. And the top result is a snippet from the Wikipedia page on context-dependent memory, which is like the most meta thing out there because it leads you right back to where you were. Here's an idea, though. Textbooks. The truth is that someone with a PhD has already done your literature search for you. The authors of textbooks cite the foundational research on a particular topic and then talk about more recent research on the same topic. These sources can be found in the reference section of the textbook, and I think it's very wise to use those articles to help guide your research. Now, textbooks aren't flawless, and they have some of the same problems as research articles, but we'll come back to that. If you find an article you like, it also has a reference section, and that'll lead you to more relevant research on that same topic. And so what you're trying to create is a positive feedback loop of researchers doing your work for you. And I think this is very wise because it helps you to be not get blindsided by your professor who says, why didn't you use the most famous article on this topic? Everyone's going to cite that. The textbook, the journal article, you name it. And so you're not going to miss it. The problems with this method are that depending on how old your textbook is, the articles you obtain may be pretty old, and sometimes a decade or more. They're also likely to be very broad and general because they tend to be literature review type articles, while your paper needs to be narrow and specific because you're talking about a specific topic. This is why mining the reference section of recent research articles is probably more worth your time because they're going to have the most up-to-date information there. The bottom line is to incorporate all the methods that I've discussed because that's the most exhaustive way of finding appropriate research on your topic. So my advice would be to use Wikipedia to find a topic you like, then use textbooks to find research that they cite on the topic, use psychology databases to find full text versions of the articles cited in the textbooks and on Wikipedia, and then use database and research articles to find more recent research. And I would do a final Google search right at the end just to see if you can find something that's even more recent than even your professor's aware of. So at that point, you want to stop because there's always going to be more work to do, okay? When you reach the number of articles your professor wants in your paper, find 2 or 3 more because that shows how diligent you are because you went above and beyond the requirements of the paper. And then, like I said, I do a final Google search too. But then just stop because this is one of the reasons why people never finish their dissertation or master's degree because they can always find other articles to read and they want to be inclusive in their paper, and so they never finish. And so that can be a bad thing. So find the number you need, get a couple more, and then stop. Well, I want to thank you for watching this video and wish you good luck with your writing. If you want more information and more videos and really just more materials to help you with your writing too, come visit us at apacentral.com and have a great day.